Today on the podcast, we are talking sweets. Yes, we've got a gourmet sweet brand joining us. This is a business that's turning over £1 million, and 90% of that revenue is currently wholesale and B2B. They're desperate to grow the B2C side of this business, and that is why they're on the podcast, because whilst they've tried a little bit of Google Ads, they've got one big question, which is which are the best platforms to use? What should we be doing? How can we grow this brand? This is going to be a great conversation. Let's get into it. Welcome to Grow with Evergreen, the podcast designed to help you grow your business by providing practical insights into all things paid media, creative, and digital strategy. Every episode, we help home, garden, and lifestyle brands with their growth challenges by delving into their business, dissecting what they're doing, and defining a digital growth strategy they can take and deploy into their business. Let's get into it. Right, welcome back, beautiful people. Hope you're all doing well. We're talking sweets today, Darren. We've never had a sweet brand on the pod before, so I'm very excited about this one. The business is called AskMummyAndDaddy.com. Because you've got to ask Mummy and Daddy. And we were both very bad for asking our Mummy and Daddy when we were children about having sweets.
And the dentist loves it now.
Oh, yeah, we're the dentist's best friend. But yeah, so we're going to be talking sweets, which is really interesting. We've not had a sweet brand on before.
No, we haven't.
Which is going to be good. And I hear they might have sent us some bits. But that is all to be revealed. Because before we go any further, before we bring our guest on, before we delve into any of that, I said to you before, I want to talk about something, a very interesting topic today, because I received an email. Let me put it up. I received an email for those of you in the sort of the marketing space that maybe do your own sort of marketing, digital marketing, SEO. The name Moz, which used to be SEO Moz, it's a platform. It's one of the big names in the world of SEO. I know we don't talk specifically about SEO that much, but that is my background is doing SEO. And alongside all the paid stuff, obviously. But I received an email from Moz yesterday, and the topic was just really interesting. And I sort of read it, and I really related to this email. And I thought, blimey, and I thought I'd share it, because I knew we were going to be recording the podcast today. And essentially what their email was about, they were basically sending an email, and they were inviting people to go on one of their upcoming webinars and so on. But the premise of what they were talking about, I thought there's a couple of little nuggets in here for our listeners and watchers. Essentially, they were saying that SEO has evolved, is continuing to evolve. That's nothing new. But principally, they were just saying that they are seeing, and they're a platform. So Moz is a platform, they're software, and so they have access to millions of websites and so on. And they're saying that as an industry, which those of us in the space know, SEO is fundamentally changing with the advent of AI and how AI is being woven into the very fabric of search results and so on, right? And they were saying that websites across the land are seeing their click numbers down. Traffic is down. As a general rule, traffic is down. SEO has evolved. And I just thought that's really interesting, because we've obviously changed our business model fundamentally in the last couple of years. And one of the things that I saw the writing on the wall, I mean, it's kind of interesting, a bit of a check in history is, go back 15 years, for more than that, mid 2000s, SEO was establishing itself, was becoming a thing, spamming and all of the black hat and grey hat and all the different hats you could wear was going to be dying out. Google was saying at the time, we're going to police the internet. Essentially, that's what they were saying is we're going to do a better job of policing the internet. And I saw that for what it is, and sort of that was my entry into the industry. I thought, this is interesting, because Google's guarding all the gates, they're holding all the keys. Let's do what Google wants, and we did that. So I did that, and that was really the start of my career into SEO. Then now you skip forward, a generation. With the advent of AI and how that's sort of taking over, SEO has evolved, and what that ultimately means for small businesses and for our listeners and viewers is they are probably, I guarantee most folks on here that if they keep an eye on their traffic, will be seeing their traffic is down. Mm-hmm. And what I think is really interesting is that is just the new normal now, because Google is not just Google, Bing, all of the search engines are increasingly providing the answers in the search results. So people don't need to click into your website. And the premise of ultimately why we changed our offering is SEO is evolving. And so for small businesses, the way they need to think about SEO, it's no longer about building links, and just creating masses of content, right? What if you're a small business and you're seeing your traffic down and you're scratching your head, you're going, how on earth, as a business, we're super reliant on organic traffic, this, then the other. The key, what you need to do to win with SEO these days is to think of yourself as you've got to build a brand. right? So you don't want to be, solely reliant when it comes to SEO. You don't want to be solely reliant on any one traffic. We advocate an omni-channel approach. So you want to be doing paid, if it makes sense for your business, Google ads, Meta ads, all of these different platforms. You also want to be doing your email. You want to be making sure you're getting referrals and recommendations, and you also want to be doing some organic. But you need to accept it's not going to change, that the new normal is there's less traffic up for grabs, essentially. There's less reason for people to go to your website. So what you've got to do is focus instead, rather than, we need to create lots of content, we need to go and acquire or buy or earn loads of links. Actually, SEO, you're going to win by thinking, fundamentally, one of my keynote phrases, what do we need to be famous for? We need to be famous to a few. And most businesses, it's about understanding that you need to build a brand, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be the next Coca-Cola. You don't need to, but when people say brands,
that's what people think.
If you say build a brand, you go, what? We're only a small business. How do we build a brand? I
can't go international.
Exactly. But think, well, we only need to be famous to a few. And what we say is your website, to win with SEO, it's about building a brand. That doesn't mean you're trying to build Coca-Cola or the next McDonald's. It's about understanding, well, we need to be famous for what we do. And if you're a local business that operates within a specific area, so maybe you're a bricks and mortar store, you're a showroom, you operate in a set area, product or service, it's what we do and where we do it. So this is our product or service, and this is the place where we operate for the most part. If you're e-commerce, as is our guest today, it becomes, this is what we do, and this is who we sell it to. This is who buys our product. This is who it's for. And that principle is how you can build a brand. And when you think in that mindset, it negates the need to think, oh, well, my traffic's dropping. I'm no longer getting all of this low-hanging fruit traffic, because AI, the AI is taking over the SERPs, the search results pages, should I say. So the rules of the game are changing. And I think just reading this, it was interesting. Hopefully some of that's made sense.
Yeah, I think it is really interesting. I think also what you were saying about AI being woven into everything in terms of like organic content.
Yeah.
One thing I was looking into last night, actually, I haven't told you this, is YouTube has even started rolling out this new feature for a select few people.
Right.
We don't have access, of course. Okay. But basically in the YouTube studio, there is now an inspirations tab.
Okay.
And what it essentially does is it uses AI to scan your channel and give you new ideas for videos. But the funny thing is so many of the examples I've seen of other people, their top video suggestions will be things like, why AI is great. And it's like
self-serving, possibly, maybe, possibly, maybe.
But it's just an interesting conversation there, because it's that idea that inspiration is done for you. But inspiration is quite literally, really, it's a human thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're being inspired, but it's really interesting, because I've seen, one of the reasons we changed our offering, and we looked at what we were doing SEO, and we said, look, SEO is going to increasingly, from an agency perspective, to my mind, SEO is going to become increasingly strategic. So the most value we can add is strategically saying, this is how you need to evolve your website. And so for us, it's more strategy, less doing. The doing of SEO is, as long as your website has got the basics in place, the foundations are in place, good technical, optimization, which again is just that same principle of what and where, or what and who. And then it's easy to load, all of the, the classics. Then it's content, which again, it's a case of asking the same, well, what do we want to be famous for, and to who, and where. And then links play a role, of course they do, but your traffic is going to be down. And it's just interesting that even the biggest players in the space are all saying, across the thousands, millions of sites we monitor and track, everyone's traffic is down because AI is answering most people's questions in the search results. I'm Googling every single day. Whenever, you ask a question, it is prompting you, and it's doing it with educational, informational terms, but also it's going to increasingly do it with commercial terms.
Yes.
And then when you factor in paid search, like your Google ads, your shopping ads, et cetera, so much of what we as consumers need and are asking for is presented not even within one click. It's just you search and hey presto, you're being given the answers.
It's true.
And so
even if it's wrong,
but as to small businesses, it's like, well, we're not gonna see, if you're seeing a 20-30% drop in traffic, don't think that that's a temporary thing or that you've been penalized. Some people have phoned us up and said, well, our traffic's down year on year, we think we must have been penalized, we think we must have a problem, we think this must have gone wrong. And it's just a case of, it's not you, that's just the industry as a whole. That's just, that's what's happening. And so the way you can offset that is to have an omni-channel approach and double down on this is what we want to be famous for. Our website is the portal into what we do and where we do it, or what we do and who we do it for. There you go. So that's that. I got it and I read it this morning and I just thought, I've got to share that because it's just, everyone is seeing it, but not enough people are talking about it. So there you go. Right. So I hinted at this.
Yeah.
So our guest has sent us something. Now we have, to be fair, we have started to say to our guests before, we've said, if we're applicable, but we've sort of said, if you want to send us a little something in.
Not where applicable, everything. Just send it all.
Yeah, if we have a hot tub, just bring your hot tub in. Yeah. We should get one for the office one day. One day we'll do that. But yeah, we're going to, so let me, bear with. I'm gonna have to move some stuff around. Hold on, right, here we go. I'll remove my trusty laptop. We have been sent. Can we see that all right? Is that all?
Bring it in.
There you go. Blimey. Hold on.
Oh, you've dropped some.
I've dropped. Yeah, we've been sent gifts.
Oh, there we go. Nicely packed.
There we go. It is. Right, should we? Oh my goodness.
Let's open it up.
There's masses in here.
I want to see what we got.
This arrived a couple of days ago. I've been desperate to open it. Right, hold on. Here we go.
Little card.
That's sweet. So we've got a little card, some samples of our lovely sweets. Let us know what your thoughts. Kane, we'll be on with you shortly, and we absolutely do. Well, there's masses in here.
He's going to get a live review. Oh, here we go.
What have we got? Have a look.
Let's see what we got here.
There we go.
Forest fruits.
Oh.
Prosecco gummies.
Oh, fizzy strawberries.
Oh.
Right, I'm having those.
Rhubarb and custard.
It's good today because it's quiet in the office today because it's one of the days we have certain days where everyone's in the office and certain days where everyone's at home. And today's a quiet day.
This well.
But when everyone's back in tomorrow, I'm
what
sure.
else we got over there?
Pina colada.
Oh.
That's a bit of you, that.
That sounds nice.
Prosecco.
Prosecco rosé.
Must have.
Yeah,
we'll ask Kane if there are actually gin fizz.
Gin fizz.
Oh, there's a theme here, isn't there? Some of them. Eggs, the egg ones.
Oh, my wife loves this. Bananas, you say?
Yeah, top banana.
I'll toss those
top
over
banana.
here.
There we go.
And I'll take those.
Fizzy peaches. There we go. I'm going to do a little advert for.
I'm going to open these top bananas.
Like
I love foam bananas.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
Let me do a bit of ASMR. Hold on. Oh, there you go.
I'm going to go these. I'm going to the Prosecco. Oh, they're non-alcoholic. There you go.
Okay, well.
Palm oil free, non-alcoholic nature colours. Right, here we go.
Oh, that was clean. I'm not going to do a chewing ASMR. Don't worry.
What is it?
ASMR.
Yeah. What's that?
It's like you get the one where one of the most common ones I found is like having your hair cut or something like that.
Right.
So you listen to it and it's usually with 3D audio and you hear like sort of this sort of thing. It's supposed to be relaxing. It's really? I don't find it relaxing.
Is it like white noise but for adults?
Yeah, kind of.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. My only instance of using it, I was in bed. True story. I was in bed trying to relax. Yeah. Had ASMR on, had haircut one on. This woman's like, "So have you had a nice day?" And I just instinctually answered and was like, that's not been great, to be honest. And she was like, "Oh, that's nice." And I was like, ruined it. I'm not immersed at all. Turn it off.
Oh, right. What are these ones? Sorry, we'll get back to it anyway. We'll get Kane. See these. Yeah, these are a bit of me. Right, I need one of these in my life.
I'm loving these. I'm loving these bananas. We've become a food review show.
Yeah, sure. Oh no, I can't do that because I like nice food, but I don't have a sophisticated palate. The amount of time Harriet and I've been out for like quite a nice meal somewhere, she's like, "Oh, can you taste all the food?" And I'm just like, "No, I just know
salty.
I like it." I'm just like, it's really nice. I do wish I had a more sophisticated palate, but so do they. Oh, right.
Are they good?
They're going in my drawer. They're very nice. There you go. Amazing. Right.
That's beautiful.
We need to get back to.
We do. Shall we look through their questions? While you do that, I can start reading.
Yeah, paint us a picture for us. Go for it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep eating.
So, the guests today, we have Ask Mummy and Daddy. And we've got Kane, who is the founder. And of course, we always send a couple of questions so that we can get the lay of the land.
Yeah.
And so one of the first things we ask is their estimated monthly revenue. Now, you're going to have to correct me here.
Yeah, no, I am.
We had a bit of a typo, didn't we? So
it was.
You're going to have to tell me that.
So the business is doing. Hold on. Too busy eating.
It was around 100.
Yeah, it's sort of 80 to 110 a month.
Okay.
1,000.
Cool.
Yeah, so about $1 million turnover. But as we said, most of that is coming from wholesale, B2B, like 90%.
Oh, I put a hard sweet in my mouth at the worst time. So how many team members have they got? They've got 7. And then we always ask 3 marketing challenges. So their first marketing challenge is getting awareness to the website. That sounds like they're trying to go in on that organic stuff. Well, that's
the thing. Karen, yeah.
Second marketing challenge.
Yep.
Which is why I think this: drive traffic to our social channels. Third marketing challenge: growing our mailing list. All fairly similar challenges there.
They are. And I said to Kane, Kane is our guest. I'll bring him on shortly. So I said to Kane before, come on, I said, in a nutshell, what's the biggest pain point? And he was just like, it's new customer acquisition, and I've got some ideas, but this one, just a heads up, this is going to be all about the numbers, because in this business, if you look on their website, they're, these are products which are, £3, £4, £5, £8, that sort of thing. And when it's a business like this, it is volume, baby. That's the way you win or lose, and that would be why they're doing so much wholesale, because it's great. Someone will, wholesale, someone will come in and go, there's a £5,000 order. Lovely. We can work with that. But if you're transacting from an e-commerce perspective, and it's $2.99 here and $3.99 there, that presents its challenges, but equally will help you. That in itself will help you define the strategy you need to deploy. So I've got a whole and that's really, I think, where the conversation is going to go. But carry on. Any other key points?
So we always ask them what their marketing platforms they're currently using are. They say they're using Klaviyo, Instagram, and Google. What's their current marketing spend? £1,000 a month.
Specifically for the B2C side.
Specifically for the B2C,
just in terms of what you're doing to drive more customers to transact online.
Where do you want your business to be in a year? We always ask, and they have said driving 6 figures through our website alone.
So they want to kick it on, because at the minute it's sort of no more than 10% of their revenue. So they really want to, in the grand scheme of things, they want to kick that on.
What does your business look like when it's finished? And Kane has said, left a legacy to inspire others to give their dream a crack, as you might surprise yourself.
There you go. And then, his questions is, what more can we do? What can we do to kick this brand? It's a lovely brand, and the website is fabulous. It's a nice,
delicious.
And the packaging, I mean, look at these.
I will say, actually, the packaging is really nice. It's really premium.
And it really is. And they've, you can tell.
It doesn't surprise me that, as we talked about in the pre-chat chat, they get a lot of hotel sales. Because it's the type of thing that you can absolutely imagine.
In your hotel as part of the mini bar. And Kane ran through, and we'll get him to explain, but he shared some of his, where they're stocked, is they've got loads of brands, hotels, names, some of the places from a wholesale perspective. You're all right over there?
I'm just struggling with this hard sweet in my mouth.
Don't worry. I'm not going to eat anymore until we're finished. Right. But so it's going to be, so and the packaging is very nice. But it's how do we get him in front of more customers? So that's going to be the conversation. I think we need to just get straight into this, because we're going to need to know all of the numbers on this to really be able to work this out. Let's do it. And I should also say they're a small team. There's about 7 or 8 of them, I think, right now. Let's bring Kane on and get into it.
Let's do it.
When you finished eating your sweets.
Yeah, here we go.
Kane, are you there, my friend?
I am.
There he is. Right. Nice to have you on the pod. Firstly, massive thank you. I don't know, you can't obviously see, but you will when the episode comes out. But we've been having a great time here, eating all the sweets. Darren's
still having a great time.
He's got them all over there. He's just as well. You're behind the camera.
I massively overestimated this hard sweet. I'm going to be sucking
I
this
can see it behind the camera, struggling. Right, but so massive thank you for sending those in. They're really very nice. And my wife's already, I think one of them, she's already earmarked one. She was like, if we get one of them. Did we get one of those? Is it the watermelon ones? Did we see? She saw those on your website, and she was like, I must have some of those. So massive thank you. Do you want to just give us 30 seconds? Who are you? Who's the business? Over to you.
Yeah, so I'm Kane Dowell, the founder of Ask Mummy and Daddy, a gourmet confectionery gifting brand, which I founded approximately about 5 years ago. That's kind of me and what my role is.
Yep.
Obviously, massive sweet tooth myself. Obviously not not anymore, because obviously just being surrounded by it all the time is not exactly great.
Has it had the opposite effect? Do you now just sort of...
Yeah, it has. It has. I worked for a company before called Biscuiteers, which was like...
Yes, I know Biscuiteers, yeah.
I worked there for 3 years as the operations manager. I've had a massive savoury, like, addiction as well, like biscuits, all that sort of stuff. And then I just completely went off biscuits, and it's kind of having that effect now with sweets.
I bet.
So, yeah.
What's the next one going to be? That's the question.
Yeah, well, exactly that. So, I mean, so just to paint a picture for our viewers and listeners, so we're doing about 1 million. It's mostly wholesale, but you're wanting to kick on in terms of the B2C side, so the e-commerce side of things. Is that essentially the stretch of it?
Yeah, 100%. I've always had this motto of trying to, essentially I want to be making money when I'm sleeping, essentially.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's what we need to be doing.
Right. So let's dive straive in then. So
Whoa,
so I've done it again. One day I will remember.
Hold the phone.
Right, there you go. So just when you're into interrupt me, I've told you. I don't know what. Right, here's a little behind the scenes. So I said to Darren after, because I forget every time, I can't help it. And then I said to him, I said, you need to do it. You need to print behind him on the wall. We're going to print a whacking great thing, get it laminated, stick on the wall, and just put like paid media mystery so I don't forget. But yes, go on, paid media mystery. It is that time. Let's do this.
It's time for a paid media mystery.
It's a good excuse. I've done last week.
Yes, of course, it's that time again. It's time for a paid media mystery where I ask Aaron and our guest a question which is about paid media. And it's always related to our guest's business. And just in case you're wanting to play along at home, the answers are always multiple choice, which gives you a chance to play too. So our question this week is, what kind of ad creative performs best for sweets and confectionery brands in the UK?
Okay.
So your answers are product-only graphics,
okay,
UGC or user-generated content, long-form brand stories, so videos, or graphics with promotional offers. So again, that's A, product graphics, B, UGC, C, long-form video, or D, graphics with promos.
Oh, Kane, what do you think as our resident expert?
I'm going to go with... God, we've done all of these.
What worked best?
I'm going to go with UGC.
That was my instinct. Yeah. I thought UGC, but then the fourth one with the promotion, everyone loves an offer. Well, everyone loves the thing.
But then with the whole offer, I just feel like I scroll through Instagram and all I see is bloody offers.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going UGC as well.
So you're both saying B, UGC. And I actually didn't even read out the full answer for this because I thought it might give it away too much. But it's UGC showing people eating the sweets. And of course, that is the correct answer. UGC is the most popular for this because it also shows off real life moments, as UGC often does, higher engagement, and works incredibly well on platforms like Instagram and especially TikTok. So there you go.
That was very good. Love it. Amazing.
Paid media mystery.
There you go. Good. I think that might even be. I've got 2 or 3 right recently.
Yeah.
I've turned the time. Well done, Kane. That was good. I'll tell you what, just a question on UGC. Kane, how do you do... You've done UGC before. Like, how do you approach it? Because I think we talk about UGC, and I know there'll be people watching the listeners going, well, it sounds a little bit, well, where do you even start? How do you
get
do
the people?
Yeah,
do you
how
have to
do
do
you
it
get
yourself
the people?
and fake it?
What do you do, Kane?
Well, with us, we've got we've got a lot of like avid followers that follow us on social media channels. And obviously some of them are actual real life customers as well. But I think we've always, years and years ago, we've done this whole, which I'm sure loads of brands done, where we just paid absolute fortunes for like influencers and all that sort of stuff. And for us, it was like, one day they'd be advertising our sweets on their social feed, and then the next day they're advertising like Lucasade, and it's like they're doing so many different brands, it just wasn't the right thing, and it was costing a small fortune as well.
I bet. Yeah.
What we decided to do is about 2 years ago, we were like, right, we're not paying any more like influencers to just take our stock and advertise it, because it's not real. I think people can see through that now. So now we actually have close relationships with people that actually love the brand, love the sweets, and actually will, happily take our products and actually do real, UGC videos.
Sort of like brand ambassadors.
I was going to say,
exactly
genuine fans.
Brand ambassadors. And we've used some of them for like affiliate marketing and stuff like that. So it's just worked really, really well, because actually, like you said, it's real. It's not.
I don't know what are your thoughts on this, because I've got.
It's interesting because I think there are obviously UGC based companies out there who almost a bit like things like Fiverr.
It's like a pay to play type thing, isn't it? Here's your budget, and you'll get X amount of UGC type.
But then I do think that you risk, as Kane said, it's not entirely authentic.
No.
So I think if you can get those brand ambassadors, that's a great choice. Whether that's easier said than done is another question.
It's going to massively depend on the product.
It is. You can't really have a bunch of brand ambassadors if you're selling like kitchen worktops.
No, it's difficult. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one though, because we are on behalf of our clients, are working with our clients to take some of their user generated content, and I'm just thinking of our clients. Some of them have it as in they will put stuff out on their organic social site, and it's people that customers that have loved the product, bought the product, will create something, and then we will take that content and then we will refine it, improve it, and then use that for their, put it into their ads and weave it into their ads. And I think when it comes to, if you're, businesses that are thinking, well, we've never used it, maybe we should. Maybe I think there's obviously, I kind of liken it to sort of three buckets. There's the household name, your big celebs, your massive influencer, like true influencers. If they put a thing about your product, wow, you're going to sell out type things. There's obviously that level, which is going to cost a bucket load. Then you've got, as you say, this sort of the middle area, which is that's like the top 5%, right?
Yes.
Then for me, this is where I always think about UGC. You've got the top 5%, great if you can get it, amazing. Whether it's paid for or whatever. Then you've got this sort of middle range, which is the bulk, which I think is like the 80%, which is where, and that's where you put your platforms, you put your, all of these kind of pay to play. Oh, give us 500 quid and we'll create you 3 bits of content and all of that. That's the majority, and that's become an industry in its own right. And there's massive people that do that. Then you've almost got, the last little sort of 10, 15%, which I think is then where it's like, that's where it's your micro influencers, but it's the genuine fans. It's the kind of the people that they genuinely buy your product, and they're going to talk about you with a consistency because it's genuine. And some of that is paid, some of it is organic, but they know, like, and trust you and the brand.
And I think what else sits in that area is EGC.
Yes, exactly.
Employee generated content, which is becoming more and more of a thing. And now that might be as simple as you get the founder of the company to do their own type of UGC, where they're literally just putting themselves out there in a really sort of low budget video, but it's incredibly genuine and people really go for that. The other idea of this EGC is it's almost a bit sort of out of the box thinking, in that you make videos with your employees, but it's not necessarily to do with what you're selling. It's just jumping on trends and essentially building a brand that you're building a personality and you're showcasing the personality behind the brand, and just having a bit of fun. Because I think, going back to what we were talking about SEO before, I think there is a huge benefit these days in not just pushing what you're selling, but pushing the people behind it and actually pushing a personality. And I think it's why a lot of what we do with our content, we always showcase how much fun we like to have, and sort of we joke around, and we don't stop ourselves from being ourselves, because I think people, one, it's authentic.
People buy from people relate to people.
That's it. And people always go for it, because I mean, so much of, if you look at YouTube, for example, organic YouTube, it's personalities.
Yes.
A lot of the people I watch on YouTube frequently they could honestly talk about anything.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I'd
you've
still
said that
watch.
before, actually, but you'll watch because you're engaged with the person. Yeah, and I think it's very similar for brands, isn't it? It's interesting, very interesting. Right, let's get straight into these. Let's get into these marketing challenges then. So, Kane, the business at the minute is about 85-90% wholesale, and you'll just paint us a picture of what that looks like in terms of the wholesale side, the B2C side.
Yeah, so I would probably, I would approximately say we're generating around 80 to 100, 110K a month. From that, I would probably, 90% of that would be through our own sort of B2B. So for all our sort of wholesale clients and export and stuff like that.
And who are they?
So those customers are like places like moonpig.com, Selfridges, Phoenix, Liberty. Obviously, we do a lot of stuff in exports, so Australia, Hong Kong, New Zealand, the Middle East. We're focusing on now with all our vegan sort of non-gelatine products.
Sure.
Then we've got, we do like probably about 200. We've got about 200 to 300 small stockists. So they would be the ones that might place £100 order. But, if you add all that up throughout the whole year, it sort of like really ramps up because they place 10 to 15 orders a year. So it's, adding all those ones up. So it's great. So that's sort of the picture in terms of our split. And then 10% of that is probably online.
Before we go any further, are you enjoying today's episode? If so, you'll love our other show, Tea Talks. They're short, informal chats where the Evergreen experts and I share actionable nuggets on all things paid media, creative, and digital strategy that we use daily when growing our clients' businesses. And best of all, much like this podcast, it's completely free. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, see the link in the description. Now, let's get back to it. So let's look at the online side now then. So the online side, so in terms of an average month, what's that revenue look like? Maybe like 10K a month worth of sales?
Yeah, I would say 10K, but then we can have months where it's like 6, 7K. It's not huge.
Okay.
And like I said, our bigger 10K months would be like the Halloween, Christmas, Easter.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And so you're spending, so what are you doing right now to drive customers in to the business from if we just look at the e-com side right now, what does that look like from marketing activity?
Literally all we are doing at present are Google ads.
Okay.
Which we only started about 6 weeks ago properly.
Okay.
But we're only spending 1K a month on that.
Okay. And are you doing, because I know you said you've got an agency doing it, is it shopping, Performance Max, search, brand? What are you doing?
A bit of Performance Max shopping, ads, and then focusing on like particular, so like Father's Day's coming up. So we're just doing stuff around that.
Fine.
But literally it's just Google ads at present. We've obviously done other bits in the past.
I've got a whole bunch of questions, and some of these I want to almost ask you the questions to then you might know, you might not, but if you don't, note these down and then you can go and ask whoever's running your ads, and it's just things to just check, things that we know for experience, the clients we work with, the things that are working that we're seeing work right now. So with Performance Max, do you know how that's how they've got that set up? Like how involved are you in that? Do you understand how Google works, Google Ads, or not really?
Not if I'm being really frank, no, not really.
Fine. So a couple of questions that you might not know the answer to, but you could certainly feed back and just make sure that you should. I would be recommending you do. So with Performance Max, just for those that don't know, is a campaign type from Google where essentially it uses the whole of Google's network, so all of Google's inventory. So that's your search results, your paid search results that come up at the top of the search results page. It's the shopping results, it's discovery, it's Gmail, it's YouTube. It's all of Google's ecosystem essentially. And Google says, hey, connect your shopping feed up. Give us a bunch of assets. Give us your logo. Give us all of your images. Write some text. Give us your headlines, your descriptions. Put everything in one bucket, essentially. Tell us what you want, i.e. conversions, leads, whatever, and then leave the rest to us. That's essentially what Performance Max does.
Right.
What I'd be recommended for you, Kane, to do, and your agency may well be doing this, and if they are, great, but it's certainly a question to ask, is in amongst your Performance Max campaign, are you running what we would determine as a feed-only campaign type? What that basically means is it forces Performance Max to just act like a shopping feed. Right. So that's a question you go. Just say, are we running a feed-only asset group within Performance Max? Where it's basically you strip out all of the other assets. You can ask that question. And the reason I would want you to check that they're doing that, and hopefully they are, is this is a product that someone is very likely to buy through the shopping results if they search for it.
Yeah.
So particularly when I'm thinking more like gifts and stuff like that, and if most of your sales will be coming through the shopping network, therefore we want to sort of force Performance Max if we're running that to do that. I would also, depending on the budget, and as you look to grow, I would also be thinking about running standard shopping, because as of late last year, so as of late 2024, Google essentially leveled the playing field. So you no longer, with shopping, you no longer have to default. For a while, for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been, if you want to get the best results from shopping, you need to run it through Performance Max, which is hence why marketers said, right, well, what we're going to do is we'll use Performance Max, but we're going to crowbar it to force it to use shopping. Google's now recognized that and gone, okay, fair enough. You like the shopping network. We'll level the playing field. We'll no longer stack the odds in favor of Performance Max. And they did it a few years ago because they wanted everyone to embrace and use their new campaign type Performance Max.
Okay, no, thanks.
So that's a question to ask. Yeah. And then obviously make sure, just a couple of other sort of, it's just housekeeping stuff, but a couple of the other things I'd want you to just check, and for others listening, watching, and things that you can ask your agency to check is, are we using first party data? What we mean by that is you mentioned you got an email list. Just make sure, have they asked you for that, Kane? Have they plugged that into Google Ads?
No, I don't think they have. So what
That's
is it?
something to just flag.
What is it?
First party. Are we using first party data? So what that means is your email list, your website viewers, basically what you want to do is once someone has raised their hand metaphorically and said, and been on the website and found you through whichever means, right? If they subscribe, if they've just been on your website, we want to do as best a job we can as remaining in that person's zeitgeist, remained in their mind's eye, so that we can, we'll come up more prominently when they're online, when they're searching again. And there's, really easy and efficient ways to do it. It just, essentially, it means you want to try and make sure that as much of your audience as possible is warm to you. They know you, not just all of your, and if you don't plug in all of what's at your disposal in the form of first party data, it means you're more likely going after cold traffic all the time. And whilst that's good, we want new customers, a big part of what I would see as how this business scales is that, repeat purchase. If you can get the lifetime value up and get people buying more than once, by just staying top of mind with those folks, once they bought from you once, they've had a great experience, they're going to come back, they're going to come back, they're going to come back.
Yeah.
So first party data. What I want to move on, I just mentioned lifetime value. I mentioned some of at the top, I said we're going to need to know some of the numbers. Just a quick fire. Do you know your average customer value?
As in, so completely different to average transaction value, correct?
What's that one? We can, if you know that off the top of your head.
Transaction value is about £18.
Okay, £18. And do you know the lifetime value? How frequently your average customer transacts with you?
Not in as much detail. So obviously we've got a number of customers who spend frequently with us.
Yeah.
Which obviously,
because that's something I would, so the average transactional value, we can use that one instead of ACV, that's fine. So if an average transaction is £18, what I'd want to understand is if you looked at the last, 365, last couple of years, I'd want to look at the data and understand on average, how often is that customer transacting with us? Because if they're on average, they've transacted with us 1.2 times a year, 1.5 times, twice a year, whatever, that's going to fundamentally change your ATV or the perception, of that, it's £18, but if on average they convert 1.5 times a year, then actually you can sort of go, well, once we acquire a customer, that customer's worth actually over £30. A £30 versus an £18 is very different in terms of what you can afford to buy that customer for.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I do.
So I'd be looking at that. Do you know? Okay, so yeah, that's going to be a key one. So that's definitely a bit of homework there, is to go and work out how often do our customers transact. How many, if we zoom out a little bit, I always like to look at this and sort of take a wide view lens on this. So on an average week, just looking at the e-commerce side of the business, how many customers are we acquiring? How many new customers?
I would. It's not many at all. So
Is it
someone
not?
actually
Okay.
doing it. No, it's
No,
not
no, no.
many.
So I think because what I'd be looking at, what we need to do with this is just go back to basics, and we need to just from an e-commerce perspective. If you're only doing sort of 6, 8, 10 grand a month, what I'd be looking at is I'd be going, well, where are those customers coming from? So again, going into like Google Analytics, so GA4, I'd be wanting to look at how much. I would imagine without seeing your data that a decent proportion of those sales are going to be coming through brand search, and that's repeat and returning customers, right? So there's people that know you, they're searching for you by name and stuff like that. And so we want those people, we want those customers. But then outside of that, what we've got to understand is how visible, where's the rest of the traffic coming from, the rest of the sales?
So
So
I can tell you now that from like the last 7 weeks,
yep.
majority of sales are coming through Google and Enclavio.
When you say majority, how much?
So we're looking at, well, I've got it here. So we're looking at, 70% is coming from Google, but that's obvious because we're doing
Google Ads.
Google Ads, yeah.
How many customers is that?
So that is, I can tell you now, customers. So that is, so we had 157 sales in the last 6 weeks.
Okay, so 100. Hold on. In the last how many weeks?
6.
Okay, hold on. So we are getting so, and is that fairly typical? Is that about, if you looked over you looked at the last 6-12 months? Does that sound about right?
It does sound about right because I'm just looking.
Fine.
Through.
So roughly that's 25 sales a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we said, I'm just going to run some very quick math on this. So if we said we're making on average 25 sales a week, and our ATV is £18, that would be, bear with. So we've got, we're making about, that would stack up. So 25 sales a week. Our ATV even is £80. So we're making 450, say circa 500 quid a week in sales.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, and I would say as well, if you think the last 6 weeks is probably quite a quiet period for us. It's not really an occasion for anything.
Yeah, but 500 quid a week would be, that's going to be, that's, I say that's quieter in terms of, because you said you're doing.
No, it's much quieter because then when we've had we might get to December. I can tell you now in December last year, which is not that long ago, we would have, it was like the 26k in that month, just
right. Fine, okay.
So drives.
Are you sure your ATV is £18? Because that would be if you only had 160, unless the last few weeks have been particularly quiet.
No, they have been quiet.
Have they been really quiet? Fine.
Really quiet because we're not.
But also, that ties in with, because also if you said that's the last 6 weeks, but that also ties in with when you started running Google Ads, right? So when you say that the 70%, where did you get that from in terms of that attribution? Is that from GA4?
No, that's from our analytics through Shopify.
Right. Okay. Fine. Do you know what Google Search Console is?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you looked into that to see how people are finding the website? I would like to know how weighted you are towards brand. Like how reliant is the business on brand? Because do you know that or not?
No, but I can tell you now, we have been very reliant on that side of things.
Which you would, but I would expect it. I would absolutely, for a business that's establishing itself online from an e-commerce, I would absolutely expect you to be heavily reliant on brand. That's the other thing as well. That was one of the questions for Performance Max, is ask the question, is our Performance Max campaign bidding on brand? Yeah. Because if you are, I would highly recommend that you have a separate brand campaign, and then you basically you should see Performance Max as a new customer channel. If you allow it to, so you can ask that question. You can say, is our Performance Max campaign bidding on brand? Because if it is, you should really be excluding it, or at least having a separate campaign, because otherwise what Performance Max will do if you let it is it will just gobble up all of those clicks, those branded clicks that you would have got either for free if you hadn't paid for them, or you would get cheaper if you run it through search and shopping natively. If you allow Performance Max, it will charge you a premium for those same clicks, and it will take attribution and go, well, great, this is what we're doing, Performance Max is working. But actually, if you look at the data, you go, you're only getting me customers that already knew of us and that were already going to buy from us.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's another key. They might not be doing this, but these are some of the hallmarks I see regularly. So brand, you should have a separate brand campaign for sure. Because how many, if you look at I don't know if you've got your data to hand, but your Google Ads in the last 6 weeks, then how much have you spent versus got back?
I can actually tell you that really straightforwardly because I I look at it daily.
Yeah. That would be good. Or even last 6. Well, since it started, because you said it's about 6 weeks. So that would just be good for us to know.
Yeah. No, 100%. So I can tell you now. So we have spent in the last 6 weeks £724.
Yep.
Exactly as of today, and then we have generated in sales 1,477.
Okay. I mean, so you're doubling your money, which out of the traps, first few weeks, it's not unheard of. I think what I would be wanting to check on that, and I think what you should definitely do is just go back and just ask the question. I can see we kind of double it. We're pretty much doubling our money reported in terms of how that's being attributed. Can I just check we're not bidding on brand? Because if you're bidding on brand, then you're effectively losing money.
So I actually pulled up because I think it's why whilst we're on this, it makes sense, especially for people like listeners and stuff. I was looking at, like just our sort of, we use a Slack dashboard with the guys, and I was just finding some info, and they were basically said, so we only have a feed only PMAX search, only branded keywords, and then we have a non-branded keyword search, which is based on, I suppose, our vegan collection and gift box collection with assets. That's what it says.
That's good. Okay, fine. So they've got, but they're both in the same campaign.
Yes.
Okay, let's think about that. So they've got a non-branded. So you said a non-branded performance of feed only. So that's good. So that's. I mean, how many conversions has that campaign said it's had? If you look at the number of conversions, so you can see the spend, you see the revenue. Does it have?
So we've got 724 costs we've spent. We've got clicks of 1.6k.
Yeah.
Had.
And what is the campaign type? Are you bidding on?
So we've got we got an 84.7 optimization score, which is 66.9 is search branded keywords TSS, and then we've got 87.5%, which is vegan and gift box with assets TSS.
Yep.
And then we've got 87.6 sales PMAX feed only.
87. Okay. Is there any more on that? Anything further?
No, it looks like.
Okay. So it looks like if they've got it set up like that. The reason I was asking that question is you just want to make sure Performance Max you're feeding enough data. Performance Max will work better the more data you're feeding it. Ideally, you want to be splitting out brand versus non-brand, and just then making sure that essentially the numbers will stack up. Because and
then they've broken it down in terms of what we spend on all those 3 different campaigns. So the campaigns being the one I mentioned, the sales PMAX feed only, which we've spent £305 in them, over the last 6 weeks. Then we've got vegan and gift box. We've spent.
What's that reporting in terms of revenue, spend versus return? If you isolate that.
So if I click on that, that one that I mentioned, 305 clicks, 511 impressions, 60,000. Average click cost per click is 60 pence. Then we have. Bear in mind, you're speaking to someone who's probably not Obviously, it's given us a poor ad strength at the moment.
I ignore that because he's stripped out all the assets, so you can ignore that entirely.
In terms of like the sort of, I suppose, the insights into what it's bringing back.
Yeah.
That's the part that I'm a bit stuck with at the moment.
No, fine. Okay. I mean, it looks, I mean, from what you've said without seeing it, it looks like they're doing some of the things I'd want in place, which is great. So that's good. I think you're just going to have to give it. I think what I'd want you to think about is what are we trying to achieve from the website? Because what does the revenue need to look like? Obviously, you've got the business overall in terms of where it is, where you're going. But I would be looking, I don't know if you've done this exercise. Have you mapped out what the next 2 or 3 years needs to look like from a website, your revenue perspective?
Yeah, I think for me, we've all got our wishes of what we want our website to be doing. Like, I really need to be getting our website up to, not really need to, like, it's paramount to save a business. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But what we do really want to be getting our business up to is minimum 25 orders a day, at least. So if you do that based on, a standard.
It's 500 quid a day minimum
Yeah,
turnover,
like
five,
as
six
a,
hundred
as a,
pounds.
as a minimum, obviously I'm familiar with businesses that are sort of similar size to us,
Sure.
and they do that.
Yeah.
Then we have, but because their focus might be on that rather than on the B2B. So
Yeah.
it's
So,
big
but I think
margin and stuff like that.
but that's a good sort of exercise to do. And that's what I would do is I would start with the end in mind. So I'd go, right, we want to be doing 25 orders a day. The average transactional value, according to what you're telling me, is £18. So based on 25 orders, that's going to be 450. Let's round up, keep the number simple, 500 quid a day worth of sales. If you look at that, if we said 25 orders, times what, an average month, that's 750 orders a month. Yeah,
Yep.
750. So let's just look at, hold on, 750 orders a month. And then if we hold on.
Even if you times it by 18, you're looking at like 13K a month.
Yeah, exactly. And that's as an average. So yeah, you're going to be, I reckon at that, you're probably going to be over, circa 15K's worth of revenue a month, which then if you, you're well over 150K worth of annualized revenue, aren't you? And you'll probably see a
Yeah.
spike go up to sort of 180 plus, the run up to Q4 and peak.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I would start in terms of map it out. So I'd go, right, this year, based on whatever your business year is, but I'd be sort of going, right, we need to be doing minimum 150, 170, 180, ideally get up to closer to 2. Once you've got that target in your mind and you know what that looks like, there's a couple of things. Obviously, one, we want to be looking at how do we get that number of sales in, and that's one part of the equation. But then also I'd be looking at the transactional value. How do we get the transactional value up and the repeat rate up, which is why I'd be studying the lifetime value, because I'd want to understand how often, if we need to make 25 orders a day or 750 orders a month, how many new customers do we actually need to be acquiring? Because if you know that on average someone repeat purchases 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, then that will fundamentally shift how many new customers you need to actually be acquiring.
Yeah, no.
Do you see what I mean? And then, so that's why I'd be looking at, I'd want to understand the LTV. And you could pull that report, Shopify provides it. You could pull a report on how many people have, purchased more than once in the last 365 and draw, okay, on average, it's, 1.2 transactions, 1.4, whatever it might be. I'd be looking at that, because then once you've got that in your mind, you can then look at it and say, okay, now we need to look at, of those, where are those sales going to come from? Which platforms, where can we get them? And that leads us, on nicely to the sort of the overarching question mark, which is the best platform to be on. I think, as we were talking about SEO at the start, you're going to want an omni-channel approach to this. And I think what I'd be wanting to look at is why I'd be looking at Google Search Console to see what role does our brand play. So how prominent, how many searches on average do we get for our brand name and our brand terms? And then when because you could do a really cool thing in Search Console. You can go on there, you go in the performance section, and you can filter. If you go UK only, or depending on where, are you selling just in the UK from an e-commerce perspective?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Fine. So you could filter by the UK, look at the last 12 months worth of data, and then I would be filtering by brand to see what that role that plays, and then I would be excluding brand and seeing, okay, when we take brand to one side, how visible is the business? What are we visible for?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
No, we haven't.
That's like, that's a cup of tea, sit down for 20 minutes and just look at it. Fascinating. I guarantee you'll get some nuggets from that. And you'll also see how people are searching and finding you. But then what I'd be looking at is I'd be saying, right, based on where we want to get to, what role is paid ads going to play in our, so it's I talk about the bear or the bears and analogy. So it's understand the role and where the traffic and the sales are coming from. So how much can we attribute to our brand? What role is our brand playing? And you might go, well, a third of all of our sales can be attributed to our brand. That would probably be about right. Then it's a case of saying, right, the E, that's the B, the E is for email. So what role, you said you're doing Klaviyo, you've got your flows set up. What role is email playing? And then you've got your ads. which is the A. And then you've got referral, recommendation, and repeat, which is the R. And then you've got S, which is going to be all of the organic. So the non-brand organic clicks, which is how people are finding the product. Yeah. And if you were to group those into those channels, you're going to be able to go, okay, well, right now we've got a 20% reliance on email. We've got a 30%, 40% reliant on ads. And then you can work the numbers. If you just get a bit of paper, you can almost start to map out, right, if we want to do 150 grams worth of revenue e-com in the next 12 months, how much of that do I need to be investing to drive the return? And then you've got to factor in, obviously, your margins. But hypothetically, if you said, right, I'm trying to get the numbers simple. So if we said we wanted to do, I don't know, 150 grand minimum, right, e-com, and right now a third, you estimate that at minimum of a third of that revenue needs to come from paid. You go, right, well, I need paid to account for a minimum of 50 grand's worth of revenue in the next 12 months. I need it to play its part, essentially. If I do that, then I can look at it and go, well, what level of ROAS, return on ad spend, do I need from Google Ads? And that in turn will define how much you need to invest into Google Ads to make that happen.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah.
And I think that's the there's a few steps there, but that's the calculation that I'd be running to remove as much of the guesswork as possible in terms of, right, this is what I can now be as sure as I possibly can be in terms of, I know I need to invest in, because otherwise what happens is I don't know if it's what you're doing, but you start with, well, we'll dabble with £1,000 into ad spend a month. But then if you're only doubling your money right now, based on your GPs, do you know what you need the ROAS to be?
Yeah, it needs to be getting to a minimum of like 2.5.
So, but 2.5 on an ATV of £18, that doesn't give you a huge amount when you factor in your overhead, surely.
No, I think what it is for us is I'm being just a bit reserved, maybe, in terms of, I'm just sort of going, oh, look, I think because I just want to see improvement in general. Like, so I'm like, we're at one point, it fluctuates at the moment, like 1.2, 1.5 at the moment. I'm just like, can we just bare minimum, let's just get up to 2.5. We'll see the revenue drive increase anyway. But I totally respect what you're saying, and you are right. Of course, we need to be aiming much higher than that.
I think, but that's where, and again, you'd be able to, and it's nothing wrong. You can take a lower ROAS in the short term, because you could just look at this. We're in growth stage. We need to build a database. We need to just get new customers in. I totally get that. But what you don't want to be doing, you need to know, based on not just your ATV, but your LTV as well. You need to know your break-even point of what you can afford to buy a customer for. Yeah. And if you looked at your data, it said people do not repeat buy, then you're based it on £18, and I would be using £18 to run the sums. But the fact that you've even got on your website, you've got a subscription model, haven't you?
Yeah, we have, which is something that we've just started. It's new. We've sort of, we only launched it like 2 months ago, but we've found subscribers already, but we're not doing much work behind the scenes to sort of like drive, subscriptions is huge. Like,
exactly. Well, that's
subscribers in one way or another. Do you know what I mean? But
have you got, are you running any, is that a focus of your ad campaign right now or not?
It's not.
Okay, because that's an interesting one in itself. That would be work, but there's so many things you could and should do. I think what I'd be doing with this is starting with the end in mind, and then I'd be looking at what role do I need to get out of the ads? What therefore do I need to invest in to therefore make that happen? And I think the subscription, I'd be looking at, as I said, getting that, looking at that LTV and then working out how I can get the average transactional value up. Because as a general rule of thumb, I think to make Google Ads profitable, I think products where they're less than £25, £30, I think it's very difficult. So one of my big, guiding lights, I'd be looking at saying, well, how do I get the average transactional value as close to or above £25 to £30 as I can? Because I think there's a bit more fat there. If you could do that, I think it will become a lot easier and a lot more profitable to do it. Because what you don't want to be doing is just acquiring customers and growing, but it's costing you to do that, and you're not even breaking even.
Funny enough, you say that. We had this conversation the other day because we were looking at our price points, in terms of our product prices, and looking at it based on all our B2B customers of like how much they're selling our product for, and they're selling a lot of it. Yes, of course, some of those are much bigger companies. They've got bigger budgets, etc., etc. But we did, as of last week, increase some of our best selling products.
Okay.
Not like where we're pricing people out, but we haven't so far seen a drop in that, which is good. So we're just sort of saying, well, let's just leave it for the next let's leave it for the next 2 months, and let's just see how. Because what we would hope that happen is we could have a conversation down the line, and I could go, oh yeah, our average transaction is now £21. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly that. I think
our free delivery threshold is £20.
Okay.
So, you know, even though the average transaction is 18, of course, like it.
Nudge. I think I would. Things like that. I would absolutely be. I think that's a good. If you've got it 18, put it as 20 to get the ATV up. That's a good shout. Once you get it to 20, I'd be nudging it further. And getting it, because I think you get to 25, £30, that's going to become a lot easier to be able to scale. And then I think I'm just looking on the website now. I'm just going through the process of checking out. Let's have a look, because you've got the add. You can add a custom, this, that, and the other on the website, which is good. Have you? I don't know from a developer perspective, but the upsells, the cross sells to drive that.
We are doing work on that at the moment behind the scenes in terms of like trying to change that.
Yeah, I would be all over that. Just because, as you say, if someone adds this in, it's such a, this is, when you're in a shop and there's, you're in the queue, right? And there's all these things along the side and it's like, oh, just pick that up and pick this up and pick that up. You almost need to do that, but from an online perspective. Oh, you've bought this, why not do this? You've got the 3 for 2 offers and stuff like that, which is good.
That works really well, yeah.
And also like from a feed perspective, have you got all of the products in the feed? Because for me, I probably wouldn't be going, and putting the $2.99 products in the feed.
No, I think what I've challenged them to do now is, which is a big selling. We do a giant share tub. We do loads of them, and we've got like happy birthday versions for a girl and a boy. And that's what we should be, because birthdays are every year, right? So
exactly. Do you do any personalized stuff?
The only thing we do at the moment, we don't do personalized like jars and stuff like that. But what we do is, customers can sort of, put in the checkout part, right. They can be like, do you want to add a gift note into this? And we've got like these lovely cards people can choose.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And do you have to pay to do that or not?
It's like 50p.
Fine.
We do like a handwritten note, which is not just on a piece of paper, on like a nice card that they can choose.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's. I think people are probably paying more than 50p for that, to be honest. But I think that's nice. I think the other thing, just to quickly mention, is so the Google. There's definitely some homework there to do, questions to ask in terms of, and you're already working on some web dev stuff, But I think, as I say, it's keeping in mind those key commercials, starting with the end in mind, looking at what role do we need paid ads to play, what role do we need email to play, and then having clear deliverables. I think having the overarching, right, we need the revenue to be X or Y, but then looking and going, the role that we need a minimum of return of 50, 60, 80, 100K out of paid. We need a minimum return from email of this and that. When you run it like that and you look at the different channels, but you group all the paid together, you group email together, you understand the role that your brand's playing alongside the, looking at the repeat and returning rate, it becomes a much easier. You remove so much of the guesswork, because you can go, well, look, that channel is running its course, is doing what it needs to do, but this one's letting the side down. Right, let's double down on email. Let's double down on what else we need to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you doing any Meta?
No, we did. You might laugh at this, but basically we were doing Meta, and I think we were sort of doing okay on it. But then we had this massive issue with actually Meta in general, where they took payment from us, and then it sort of it's such a long story to even explain this. But yeah, we were doing it, and we were kind of doing okay. We had like a budget of like £1,000 a month as well on that.
Yeah.
I paid basically a bill, and then all of a sudden it sort of stopped. They were like, oh, we need to do some security checks. And then we've now raised a ticket with Meta to try and find out why isn't our account starting.
I mean, I would get, because Meta, I mean, if you need a hand with that, like, let me know. I can intro you to, get one of my guys to have a look at it. He's got contacts at Meta, but because Meta visually, this is such a visual product. The packaging looks great. I would be all over Meta, particularly from a retargeting perspective.
Yeah.
To stay top of mind. That's an absolute no-brainer. And you could do what we were talking about, the UGC stuff, the product-based stuff, the promotion stuff, all to just drive people back time and time again.
Yeah.
Meta is an absolute no-brainer. Also, Pinterest would be a really good one for you.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, I would be all over that as well. This is a nice brand. You got a lot of potential here, but I think it will become that much easier if you start with from a website perspective, the end in mind, kind of go, right, the next year, in 3 years, let's get this to 500,000 turnover or 300,000, 400,000, whatever. Let's work backwards and go, right, in order to do that this year or whatever, in the next 12 months, we need to be doing 150, 200. How are we going to do that? And like with all these platforms, the more you're going to put in, the more you're going to get out, so long as you've, got things set up right, you're leveraging first party data. Also, something we've been talking about recently is with Google, thinking about Performance Max, just how much more creative you need to feed, like with demand gen.
Yeah,
that's
demand
another
gen's
campaign
a huge
type
thing.
So demand gen, Kane, is something, again, that's the question. Just ask your agency, say, are we leveraging demand gen? Because what that is, it's like the Google equivalent of what Meta does. So you feed it even more assets and it captures folks. You can do it for pennies. It's really, really, really cheap clicks. But you can target it, build the demographic in terms of who's your target audience, and you can get all your creative, all your assets, your branding in front of those folks. So it's that, similar to Meta, it's that top of mind thinking in terms of, oh, there's that brand. I was going to go back. I was going to buy from them. It's the Google equivalent. It's called demand gen.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yeah. So I think there's a bit there. Start with, run the numbers, work out the lifetime value. Look at GSC, understand how prominent the brand is. Then look at GA4 to understand the different roles that the brands are playing. And then just focus in on how many new customers I need to actually acquire based on those that repeat. If my ATV is £18, but then if I can get it up to 22, 25, or even beyond that, what does that look like?
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of spreadsheets you've got to be in, my friend. It's great. I love it. But it's lovely. Hopefully it's been useful getting another perspective on things.
Oh my God, massively. Like the amount of notes I've written. It got to a point when I was actually like, right, I need to stop writing notes. My arm's hurting. I need to do an actual draft on an email.
Bless you. Well, you'll be able to listen and watch this back. But yeah, I could keep talking for hours, but Darren's giving me the eye, the I need to wrap this episode up eye.
It's a long one.
But I could honestly, I could just keep talking to you because this is fascinating. I've got so many ideas of things you could do with this. But it sounds like, you've got an agency that hopefully know what they're doing. Just double check those things. And best of luck with it, mate. Keep going. You get this right. This could be really nice because it is something people are going to buy again and again and again, isn't it? It needs to become a habit.
I'm going to have to buy more of these top bananas because I've nearly eaten them all.
I'll get you guys some more. We've got all new. We've got like a strawberry daiquiri coming up. The cocktail ones we are like our biggest. We're kind of the only ones in the market doing those. We sold over like 1 million units of those across our channel.
That's what I mean. That's what you've got to do. Some really, really good creative on Meta and Google with demand gen to showcase the product could be stunning.
I was going to say, just last thing. It's a very minor thing, but it did catch my eye as I was looking through your socials, like Instagram. The pictures are really, really nice and really, really, really vibrant and bright. The videos, on the other hand, kind of feels like it's letting the rest of it down in terms of it looks a bit dull and a bit unsaturated. And because they appear quite frequently throughout the feed, it feels kind of off-brand a little. It just feels like it's letting the rest of it down a little bit. And it's very easily fixed. All you need to do is just up the color, up the brightness a little bit.
Make them pop a little bit, yeah.
I totally agree. We've invested... We did it years ago, and then we've sort of pigeonholed ourselves a little bit. So we do invest quite a lot of money into things like photography and imagery. As you can obviously tell.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a specific bit here that I'm just looking at, which is it's like mini eggs. It's your excellent. And there's an image. It's actually a video, funnily enough. But it looks like, it's a really nice video, actually. It's sort of stop motion, but it's then followed by another video, which is more sort of almost UGC style. And the visuals on both of them are entirely different. Like it looks like such a different product on the second one because it's so much duller colors.
Right.
And it's just not quite as appealing. As I said, it's a little thing, but it's those little things.
It's the little things that matter, and I think now as we mentioned, in the questionnaire, like the whole UGC thing is huge. It's making sure it's consistent. I'm really on board with that as well.
I love it, mate. Well, look, I'll tell you what, I would love to invite you back on. Would you come back on the pod in like a year's time?
Yeah, of course I would. Yeah,
I'd love to get you back on, because I think if I could see this one really taking off. I think you've got so much right here, and it sounds like you're right at the start in terms of from an ecom perspective. A few weeks in to starting your Google ads, come back on in a year and tell us how you've got on with it.
No, and it's been so insightful to actually hear and learn about what the potentials are, because the potentials are there. I just think to myself, we've got customers that are B2B customers who are placing orders every week.
There you go.
And I'm like, we need to be making that about the website as well, because if anything, the website's actually a little bit cheaper.
Of course.
So you want to acquire those customers. But look, no, it's been amazing to really hear what you guys can do and say.
Good man, love it. Well, look, it's been good fun. Massive thank you for coming on. Best of luck with it. And I say, if you need a hand or got any questions, just fire them over. We'd be happy to help advise. Help you on your way, mate. It's great. Love it. We'll make sure we link to it. But there you go. So thank you for being on, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
There you go. Right, that was Kane. And so the website, askmummyanddaddy.com. I'm just looking through their sort of scroll of all the names. It's like, Selfridges, it's Moonpig, it's Claridge's.
Some big names.
Oliver Bonus. They do some good stuff. And I think that's if it from a B2B perspective, if that's their customers, as you say, you get the strategy right for from a B2C perspective, the world's your oyster in terms of how far this could go, because, it's sweet. Who doesn't like sweets?
Yeah.
My boy doesn't, but it's kind of like, he's a good boy. He's learned from his, the mistakes his daddy made. But do you know what I mean? Like that, you get that right. But I just know from experience, when it's your average transactional value is less than 20 quid, that becomes, particularly when you factor in the cost, this and the other, the only way that can work is serious scale, which I think is what Kane's basically saying. He's like, I just want to get as many new customers in the door as I can. Great, do that. But my only reservation is you just need to run the numbers and really be all over those to understand how many people repeat and so on. Because from 18 to 22 or 25 could make a wholesale difference in terms of we're acquiring tons of customers and we're doing it profitably, break even, we're making a little bit, but then we make more we're building the database, we can do a much better job of retargeting, and we make our money, our profit on the second and third. And once it becomes a habit and they repeat buy, they sign up for a subscription, they then come to you for, this and the other, beautiful. But if it's, 15, 16, 18, when you factor in the cost per click, the margin,
that's it,
all your overhead, could be quite expensive. That could be quite difficult.
Oh, someone's at the door.
Someone's at the door. What time is it, Darren?
Who could that be? I think it might be time to get a letter for a paid media problem.
Google or Meta got you down.
Oh, look at that. We've got
look at this. Look at this. Oh, what have we got? There we go. Thanks. Amazing. There you go. We're just the visual gift that keeps on giving. Right, what have we got? So for those of you who don't know, because this is relatively new, so our paid media problem, we're now asking our viewers, our listeners to send in a question. We're saying to you, hey, if you've got a question, something specific, send it in. And that's what's starting to happen, which is really good. I'm loving this.
Who's the question from today?
Lucy, who is a marketing manager at a garden centre.
Oh,
okay, interesting.
Nice.
Okay.
What's the problem?
The problem is, or the question, is should I boost my Facebook posts?
Interesting.
Okay. I can just.
It's a question that a lot of people ask. I think.
Yeah, to be fair, we do hear it quite right. Should I boost?
What's your definitive answer?
No.
Okay.
Done.
No.
There
we go. That's the paid media problem.
I think boosting posts, a lot of people do. I mean, some of our clients pre-working with us were boosting posts, like on your metas, and they've just, we just boost posts. We chuck 20 quid behind it and see what we get. I think most people, that's how you get started. But I think the problem with boosting a post is just the lack of control. You get 10% of what the controls and, the insights that you would get if you do it properly, which is essentially, if you boost your post, you can kind of do it. I mean, Meta obviously make it incredibly easy to do that. It's just boost the post.
Yeah,
click,
easy.
Done. Lovely. When you go into the business side of Facebook, the back end of Meta, you've got so many more controls, and also that, as Matt, our head of paid social, says all the time, is now the way you win with Meta beyond just, playing, just getting started, once you're sort of taking it a little bit more seriously, the way you win with Meta is all about the creative. You use the creative to do the targeting, you use the creative to scale, you use the creative to, try different things. Therefore, if all you are doing is boosting a single post, it's like that gives you got one bite of the cherry. You just go, well, let's just boost this post.
It's a drop in a bucket.
It's literally. Whereas, and if you're just dipping your toe and you just want to go, well, I want to get a bit of reach behind it, great, you can work. But as soon as you start thinking, oh, we've had a bit of success, if we want to grow that success, you can't, because you've got, well, we've only got one iteration here. We haven't got the variation. We haven't got... It just becomes a little bit. So, I think boosting posts, great if you just are dipping your toe and want to spend 20 quid a day or something like that. But once you want to take it a little bit more seriously, very quickly, you're going to want to transition.
There you go.
Right. I think we've run over on this one, haven't we? It's been a long one.
It's a long one.
But what a great guest Kane was. I think that is that's a great business there. So do check those guys out. We're going to wrap this up and go into some
of course, if you also have some paid media problems and you're listening or watching, then send them in. Yeah. Whether that's on a comment on the
you can comment,
video,
send an email.
You can send an email to hello@theevergreenagency.co.uk.
Do you think we need another email? I might have to get another podcast.
PMP.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I might have set that up. But yes, so you can send those in, or just ping us a DM. Yeah. Ping a DM to DM.
There you
Darren
go.
Martin. There you go. Send Darren Martin a DM. Or to me, and we'll pick that and we'll include those in. I think we've got one now for the next few episodes. Ping those in. That'd be great. Do subscribe, like, comment, and all of that good stuff if you've enjoyed the show. We are having an absolute blast creating these and getting some really good guests on. We've had some amazing guests in the last few weeks that have joined us for some really good conversations. So I hope you're enjoying it. And we'll see you on the next one. We're going to go and eat some. I'm going to try and have one of these bananas before
Take them away.
Them all. Oh, they do look good. Right, there you go. Cheers. Ta-da. Hello, beautiful people. I hope you enjoyed today's Grow with Evergreen podcast. I want to ask you if you would like to be my next guest. We're looking for more home, garden and lifestyle brands to join us. So if you're using paid media such as Google Ads and Meta Ads, if you're willing to be honest and open, and if you're wanting to grow online, then I think you'll find our podcast incredibly helpful for your business. You can apply directly via our website. Simply click on the navigation in the top right-hand side of the website and select podcast. Fill in the application and one of my team will get back to you. Best of all, it's completely free to join us on the Grow with Evergreen podcast. I look forward to helping you grow your business very soon.